Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's industry webinar, Provider Relief Fund Payments for Safety Net Hospitals, Medicaid, and CHIP providers. My name is Ellen Knowles. I am the Marketing Communications Manager here at Azalea Health, and I will serve as your moderator for today's presentation. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. All attendees are in listen-only mode, and know the system defaults to computer audio, but if you would prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone and the audio pane on the right-hand side of your screen, and the dial-in information will be displayed there. You will have the opportunity to submit questions during the webinar. We will address them at the end of the presentation. We want to have a very interactive Q&A session today, so we encourage you to send in your questions throughout the presentation. Please keep in mind there are new updates being released frequently. So if you have any questions that we're unable to address during today's session, we will follow up with you separately. Also, please note that today's slides will be shared in a follow-up email along with the webinar recording. And I would now like to introduce our presenter today. We have Margaret Chandler, Azalea's Clinical Regulatory Consultant. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Margaret.
Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your spending your time to come and to spend your time with Azalea. So we'll just jump right in and go through this. Now, this what we're presenting today was issued on June 9th, so it's just about a week old. So I don't want to get anybody confused if you see something. This is the June 9th release from CMS, and they called it Provider Relief Fund Payments for Safety Net Hospitals and Medicaid and CHIP providers. So we'll just jump right in and get to the good details. So what is it? It's a distribution, another distribution of money equal to at least 2% of your reported gross revenues from patient care. So $15 billion is going to Medicaid and CHIP providers and $10 billion to safety net hospitals. And then the third thing that they introduced was an enhanced provider relief portal. So the who, let's talk about the Medicaid and CHIP providers first. And that, back in the beginning of the COVID, when the CARES Act came out, the initial general distribution provided payments to about 62% of all Medicaid and CHIP providers. So, there was another 38% that didn't get any money or, may not have gotten any. So that's what this new disbursement is addressing, those Medicaid and CHIP folks who did not get anything on that first go-around or even the second go-around. So if you're in that 38%, you can look forward to receiving a payment, a direct deposit, and you may have already received it. So again, who and how much for the CHIP, for Medicaid and CHIP providers, as we said, as I just said, the 62% that already got some, they're not going to get any, but the 38% gets at least 2% of your reported gross revenue. And I just want to point out that it's at least 2%. So the way that they're going to get, the way that you would get more than 2% is by your reporting on the portal, the provider relief portal. So we'll get into that a little bit more later. And for safety net hospitals, this is based on your Medicare disproportionate payment percentage of 20.2% or greater, average uncompensated care per bed of 25,000 or more, and profitability of 3% or less on your cost report. So they're expecting that recipients will receive at least $5 million, but no more than $50 million individually. So that's quite a bit of money. Don't want to miss out on that. So the portal, the Enhanced Provider Relief Fund portal, is what it was enhanced with is just a way for this piece of the funding for you to be able to go in and enter the information that CMS wants to know about you. So they want your annual patient revenue, and then they're going to, whatever that final amount is that you submit, then they'll decide what percent you will of your gross revenues that you will get. So, like I say, at least 2%, and that's a lot of money. The additional funding that we're talking about right now it's a second round of funding for hospitals in hotspots, in COVID-19 hotspots, and you have to submit your information by June 15th to get that funding. So this is even more funding. This last piece is like a separate additional funding on top of the other that we just talked about. So all of this information is submitted through the portal, the refund portal that we just talked about, and there are links. Here are the links to all, here's the link to the portal, here's the application process for those additional funds, and then this third one is just general information from Health and Human Services. So that's all I have for my presentation. We'll see what kinds of questions you guys have.
All right, thank you, Margaret. We are now going to answer questions submitted during the presentation. And as a reminder, you can still submit your questions into the question pane on your attendee control panel. Our first question asks, is this part of the original $50 billion in relief funds?
Well, actually, no, it is not. The $50 billion was part of a larger $175 billion. So there was the 50, and now they've added this additional 25 billion, I think 10 and 15 billion.
All right, thanks for answering that. The next question is, how do I know if I should apply?
I would recommend that everyone apply for that additional funding, because you don't really know whether or not Medicare or CMS is considering you to be in a COVID hotspot. So I would recommend that everyone apply to find out if you're in a hotspot. Now that's for the additional funding. For the safety net hospitals and the Medicaid and CHIP, you don't need to apply for that, but you do need to go into that patient portal and enter your cost revenue. And the reason you want to do that is in hopes of getting more than 2% of your patient revenue costs.
All right, and our next question asks, I've already gotten a payment. Is there anything else I need to do?
Okay, well, this question kind of ties back into the one that we just answered. If you've gotten a payment, you don't have to do anything else, but I would recommend that you go to the Provider Relief Fund portal and enter your revenue numbers and whatever else they ask you in hopes of getting an increase in the payment.
All right, and our next question asks here, has HHS given any indication what the additional $75 billion will be used for?
Well, it's all used for COVID-19, whatever you might need in order to take care of your patients for COVID-19. As long as it goes as a result of treating patients, then that's what it is supposed to be used for.
Great, thank you for answering those. We still have some time for attendees to submit questions. So please take a moment and get those submitted so we can try to get those answered for you. Just got another one in. Let's see. If you have received general distribution funds, can you apply for enhanced Medicaid funding? And what about if you have applied but not received funds, can you still apply for the Medicaid enhanced funds?
So if you have already received funds, the only thing that you would be eligible for is that additional funding. And I would recommend that you definitely apply for that. You certainly can, you don't have to, but why would you not? Why would you not apply and see if you can get a little bit more?
Great, thank you for answering that. Again, we still have some time. It looks like we've answered all the current questions that have been submitted so far. We'll wait a couple more minutes here, see if we get any additional. And while we're waiting, Margaret, is there anything else you'd like to add in regards to the links that we're going to share as resources, or any other additional resources that attendees can access for questions?
Well, I suggest that everyone saves the last link, the HHS link. Here, they publish a lot of information there. They keep that very current. And from my perspective, it's easier to understand than some of the news releases and some of the stuff published on the CMS website, or, articles, that kind of thing. So that would be my recommendation. The other thing that I'd like to share with attendees is that if you're an Azalea customer, you're welcome to email any regulatory questions to regulatory@azaleahealth.com, and we'll be happy to, we'll reply to your email, or we'll give you a call, or, we'll get back to you and do our best to answer your questions. And it doesn't have to just be about Corona, any kind of MIPS, PI, promoting interoperability, any of the EHR incentive program questions.
Great, thank you for sharing that. And it looks like this will be our last question today. What data has to be provided on the Medicaid funding? Is it full tax return or certain portions?
I don't have that information. I can't get in all the way into that application because I'm not a provider. What the documentation that I read, it was your cost reporting numbers and your patient revenue numbers. I would think it would be more than those two, but you'll need to go to that Provider Relief Fund portal, and I think you'll be able to get in and see what that has.
Great, thank you for answering those questions, Margaret. It looks like that is going to conclude our Q&A for today. So we will go ahead and conclude the webinar. Any questions that you may have following today's call, any Azalea customers, like Margaret mentioned, you can email us for regulatory questions, and we can also try to direct you to any resources and links on behalf of the different tools there. So I want to go ahead and remind everyone the slides will be shared up in a follow-up email, which will also include a link to the recording in case you want to review again, or you can share with any of your peers. On behalf of Azalea Health and our presenter, thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.